Hello, everybody, and thanks so much for tuning in. You're listening to The Point with Tam A Gram on WVNN. I'm with you every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time. If you're local, you can listen on 770 AM, 92.5 FM, or WVNN.com. All show audio gets uploaded to Substack in case you missed it or you wanted to share it with your friends that live out of state. With me today, I have a very special guest. You know, I'm in Texas. I've been in Texas for the past week, and I found me a gentleman who is running for the House of Representatives. My guest is Ben Mostyn. Ben, welcome. Ben Mostyn from Austin. Ben Mostyn
Yes,
is
ma'am.
running for Texas House District 117, which is the far west side of San Antonio and includes some of Lackland Air Force Base. Welcome, Ben. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
I am so excited to have you, Ben, and I can't wait to hear all about your campaign. I understand this is your first time running in the state of Texas, but you did run as a write-in candidate in Arizona one time.
Yes, ma'am. They needed a sheriff. He was killed right before the election, and no one was stepping up at the time, and so I stepped up. But yes, this is my first time to run through and through. I started in January of 2023 to flip the district that I live in.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's Democrat right now,
Yes,
democratically
ma'am.
ran. All right, wonderful. So you're a real estate agent. What made you, what brought you to politics or made you want to dive into this?
Well, a lot of it was with the red wave in 2022 that never happened. And I didn't go to, run for office. I went and spoke to the movers and shakers around the county and the surrounding county, said, I have a lot of skills. Where do you need me? Put me in, coach. They, with my background and what I have to bring to the table, they say, we need you to run for office. Whoa, wait a minute. Anyways, duty calls. I'm a soldier, and we need someone in office that gets things done. I am a problem solver. I am tired of us sending politicians to office that have nothing but excuses and drag their feet, and we're not seeing results on the ground. So I'm here to fight for Texas and fight for my district.
I love that. And you're right. I'm so sick of these career politicians. So it's very refreshing to have somebody come in that doesn't that is an outsider to politics, but has some familiarity with things. So are you former military then?
Yes, ma'am. I was in the Army. I was a paratrooper in the Army, and I worked as an intelligence analyst, specialized in geospatial intelligence, and would later become a subject matter expert in that field, and served as advisor to the commanding general in the war on terror downrange.
Oh wow. Well, thank you so much for your service, Ben. And
An
I'm
honor.
super hopeful that you do get elected so you can continue to serve the great state of Texas and this great nation because we need good people that are not in it for the money and the esteem that people seem to be in it for. They're out for themselves. So let's talk about your campaign. What kind of is your platform that you're running on?
My platform, and it's amazing too, because of the five things that I came up with before I even hit the field and really dug in with voters and started going around and speaking with people, which it turns out it's spot on. It's exactly what every single person throughout Texas and throughout my district in particular is looking for. And that is, first and foremost, secure our border, stop the drugs and the crime and the illegals from coming over. Next is education. I support school choice, allowing parents to send their kid to whatever school they want with their tax dollars. But furthermore, we have to fix the education system because it is tore up from the floor up. And
Mm.
we are 43rd in the nation in education, and that is just unacceptable. We need order and discipline. We need to reformat how we deliver public education to the next generation of Texans, which, by the way, 1 out of every 10 kids in America comes out of the state of Texas. So our output here in the state of Texas is 10% of the nation's output. So this is not just a Texas issue. This is a national issue, and we need to fix that. Next, I support eliminating our property taxes. we're about freedom and independence here in Texas, especially here in the Alamo City, where the Republic of Texas was born. And this is what we fought for. This is what our forefathers fought for. And we don't need to be paying rent to the government. And speaking of that rent, where is that money going? Because we're not seeing results. We sit in traffic hour after hour, and it gets longer and longer. Each year, there's the incessant construction cones everywhere. No one's out there working. And everyone's moving to Texas. We're going to be the largest populated state in the United States no later than 2030. And we will probably be the seventh largest economy, passing France by the end of the year.
Oh,
So
wow.
we need to show what Texas can do. And part of that is getting our infrastructure, our electrical grid, so on and so forth, completed, and that supply meeting the demand. And then finally is crime, because crime is on the rise. It's on the rise throughout the country. And we just can't have that in Texas. Last year, the city council, there's one Republican, the other nine are Democrats, and then there's the mayor, also a Democrat. And by the way, this is not a Republican versus Democrat. This is just a Texas thing. We have got to bring Texas back. And in Texas, there's law and order. We keep on putting criminals back out on the street. There's no enforcement of the law. And furthermore, that values have to be instilled in our young people from the get-go. And that goes back to education and how they're conducting themselves, what their behavior is in the classroom, and what the expectations are. Because if we can fix that, we don't have to make a law for everything, because there's going to be a moral compass and a duty and an expectation that each child, each person, as they grow up, are responding to and showing that behavior. But in the meanwhile, we need to tackle crime in a serious way. It's getting worse and worse, and the migrant crisis is making that even worse. It's pushing more and more homeless out to the far west side and into other areas that are already on the south side. A little rough, anyways. So those are the main 5 points: the border, education, property taxes, our infrastructure, and crime.
I love it. I used to live in San Antonio way back in the day, and I've got some really good friends here. Of course, I met you through a mutual friend. I've got a few others as well, and they tell me their property taxes have gone up so much to where their mortgage payments are getting to where they can't even afford them. They might have to sell their property and move even further out of town, or possibly even to another state, because the property taxes are so high, along with the insurance. The insurance keeps going up as well. Is that directly related to the migrant crisis, or what is driving those costs up like that?
Well, some of that is the free market, and the free market we had, especially during the years that we had record low interest rates, the lowest interest rates, mortgage interest rates in the history of the United States. And many people took advantage of that. It brought on a buying spree, and as a result, the prices just went up and up. And the way the appraisal districts work is that they look and they say, okay, well, what exactly is your house valued at? And because of the rapid increase in value, therefore the rapid increase in taxes. And so, yes, you're right. What that is doing is keeping people out of the market, and especially now that the interest rates have gone back up, people can't afford it. And those that are on a fixed income are getting squeezed out of their houses. And so Governor Greg Abbott has made it a priority to tackle this, and I fully support any and all measures that he is working on. And I hope that we can take it all the way across the finish line and completely eliminate the property taxes, because we make enough money in other areas of revenue. We have a $40 billion surplus this year. We expect more next year. It is in the Constitution of Texas not to have debt. So we, unlike other states, are running a surplus. We run a pretty tight ship. But down at the municipal level, where taxes are raised, where you have often a Democratic rule, and approval for this bond and that bond, that's having a negative impact. And so we want to look for those ways that we can pay off that debt as well as eliminate those taxes that people are paying.
Where are the property taxes going now? Is it going into a particular type of fund, or I'm not really familiar with how that works.
A lot of it goes to education, and that's the concern of many educators that the school choice is they feel that that will negatively impact schools that are cash strapped in the first place because parents are pulling their kids out, sending them someplace else. And therefore they are not getting the funds that they would normally get. But that is untrue, and that will work itself out, and we have surplus to take care of the funding where needed. On the other hand, though, it is not so education, but also your roads and highways, emergency services, so on and so forth, is the other element. Now, that element will probably remain. That's just a very small part of the taxes. The biggest part of the taxes is the education.
We have the same kind of issues in Alabama, and school choice is something that a lot of people have been talking about, and it's been on the ballot. And the concern is that people will pull their kids out of school. Those dollars will be pulled out of schools that are already failing. They will continue to fail even more. These often are underserved communities with minorities, as well as just poverty-stricken areas. So same kind of issue though, education, that we had a surplus in our education fund for some reason the last couple of years, and I don't know why. I don't know what we're doing with that money, but they ended up giving a refund to taxpayers, as a partial refund, not all of it. Which was nice to have an extra couple $100, but honestly, I would rather that they put that to good use in the schools, because we know they're not paying teachers enough. I'm sure it's the same thing here in Texas. Like teachers just it's something that, our education of the next generation is probably one of the most, if not the most important things for a nation. And yet the people responsible for that education are paid very little compared to a lot of other jobs. So it's not really attracting the best talent to to that field.
I couldn't agree with you more. We need to raise the pay of teachers, and we need to give them a fair living for the amazing work that they do. I remember when I was a kid, there was a commercial that would air on the radio. You want to be a hero, be a teacher, right? And I believe in that because they play such a critical role in the next generation, where we go as a state and where we go as a country. Now, the problem that the education system has, and this is likely the same problem you have, and in fact, around America, but Alabama being a red state similar to Texas, the social temperature is that we put in more middlemen, administrators, counselors, and so on and so forth. So one of the things that is lacking is that are the expectations and behavior, and teachers aren't back. There's unruliness in the classroom. COVID made things even worse because students not only fell behind in education, but also lost track of their we would say it in the Army, your military discipline, right?
Yeah.
Your expected behavior in the classroom. And so what we need to do, and this is why they want to bring in so many counselors and address these various attitudes and behaviors that kids are expressing these days. And I think the root of it is that we have lost track of good parenting, and we have lost track of the structure that a child needs to grow in and to flourish and to understand what these expectations are. So we bring in all these middlemen, and when we could have a better foundation if we had discipline and we had good education from the get-go. And furthermore, there is a large difference between what a principal, for example, makes versus what a teacher makes.
Mm.
I'm just making up numbers, but for example purposes, let's say a principal makes $300,000 a year, maybe even more. And a teacher makes $60,000 a year and is paying out of pocket for school supplies. That is absolutely unacceptable, right? There needs to be some sort of discipline, in financial discipline, and we need to take care of those that are on the front line and teaching our young people. And there's money in the budget. Last year, my opponent, Philip Cortez, he's the Democrat incumbent sitting in there. He killed the school choice bill, and he killed the bill as a result that had funding for schools and for teachers. And so we need to get somebody in there that is not only ensuring that we pass school choice, pass the legislation to fund these teachers and the schools that are in need, but also to ensure that we are bringing back the fundamentals of education to our young people.
Absolutely. We did pass the bill in Alabama, so that I'm not sure when it goes into effect, but I think that's a really big deal. And there are people that are they're for it and against it. I don't have any kids, so I don't really have a dog in the fight, but I see the pros and cons of it, and I can only hope that it shows some benefits in the next year or two. I'd like to see benefits quickly for things because oftentimes we pass these bills and then they don't really get evaluated for years. I mean, and we don't know, was this a good thing or a bad thing? And it might be 10, 15, 20 years before somebody actually takes a look at that data to say this was a terrible idea or this was a great idea. So I'm hoping that they built something in, and I hope Texas does as well, to be able to see was the juice worth the squeeze in passing that bill.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So I didn't realize that education was such I know education is important. Obviously, I always preach it, but I didn't realize that it had gotten so out of hand in this nation. But COVID really showed us, because I didn't realize how many people in this country, like even adults, aren't good at reading. Like we have a high illiteracy rate, even with adults, especially in the South. I'm not sure how Texas looks, but I know in Alabama, the numbers are crazy. And when we have kids that are falling behind from having to be online, they're not they're not learning at the same rate when it comes to mathematics, reading, comprehension, etc. And so we're setting ourselves up for failure when these kids graduate and need to enter the workforce, because it seems unlikely to me that they're going to be able to catch up appropriately. And so we're only going to be hurting ourselves in the workforce later on. And yeah, people say, well, AI is going to take everybody's jobs anyway, so it doesn't matter. But we still want an educated society, do we not?
It is imperative that we have an educated society, and Texas didn't become 43rd in the nation yesterday. This has been a decline in our education system across the nation, but also here in Texas has been diluted and degraded over the decades. And you're right. You're right. I can tell you as a leader, as an employer, and one that has been in many executive positions, the talent that comes out of even college these days is dismal. These kids are graduating college and can't even put together a comprehensive email. They have zero analytical skills. They are not a problem solver. And you can see that reflected. Even it's getting worse and worse if you go to a fast food place, where it's like, oh well, I don't know, I don't know what to do.
I've literally been
you know
told I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean? You don't, like, the cash register, what the receipt thing was out,
yeah.
and they're like, I don't know, you can't order. Like, that's your answer? What?
Right, right, because no one is taught how to solve the problem. No one is taught how to analyze and get to an answer. And so this has been because there has been a decline in the family structure. There has been a decline in the classroom and order and discipline and expectations. You are there to learn. The taxpayer and your parents are paying for you to learn, not for you to run the show or to act a fool in school. That is unacceptable. You have one job and one job only, and we are doing that. And by the way, to prepare you for the next part in life. And by the way, though, I want to see skills brought back into the classroom. Common things, right? Learn how to balance a checkbook. Imagine that, right? Because God forbid you go to Congress one day and you can't pass a budget, hint, hint, right? So we need to learn how some of the basics so that we can graduate and move on to bigger things. I like the Japanese model where there's not a janitor in sight. Why would you have a janitor? I have an entire school of children,
Hmm.
and you're going to need how to learn how to clean in your life. So you're welcome. And we can save that money, save that time, and maybe you won't make such of a big mess because guess who's got to clean it up? There's these simple things in life. I'm a soldier, and soldiers don't wear boots that you have to shine. You used to be able to tell a lot about a soldier or a fellow military member by looking at their shoes or their
Mm-hmm.
boots, right? Now they don't have to do that anymore. So it's these little things that we have taken out of life, and we've got to put that back in. If I can make a reference, I mean, perhaps you would remember this game. It's an off game. I don't know how else. It was Kerplunk. It's called Kerplunk. Did you ever see that when you were growing
Mm-hmm.
up?
Yep.
Okay, that cylinder that had all the sticks that were in it, and you put the marbles on top, and then we had to pull out the sticks without the marbles falling. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Society is the same way. You have to have so many little sticks in there. You have to have so many pillars and a firm foundation. Otherwise, all the marbles come crashing down. And so we need to go back to our basics, back to our roots, and fix our foundation and fix our structure. And that will bring about not only better education, but a better society in general.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It feels like all the sticks are being removed at once and all the marbles are falling right now. And I can't help but feel like it's by design, but hey, that's just the conspiracy theorist in me. I did want to touch on something specific that I see as a growing issue, which is kids on their phones in school. As you stated, they're here to learn. And I understand the need for mom and dad to be able to get a hold of them for whatever reason. But I do not like the
What
idea of
reason?
smartphones being in the school because these kids are playing games, they're distracted, they are not learning. And I know how I am. I'm an adult. I have a lot of willpower, but if I have my phone in front of me, it's distracting all day. I have to physically put it in a drawer in order to get it out of my face. And even if I turn it upside down, it's still distracting to me because there's something in our brain that is like, ooh, check it for notifications, check it for notifications. And it's designed to be addictive. So I like the idea of getting rid of phones in schools. Maybe they put them in a locker at the beginning of the day and they can get them at lunch or something, but they should absolutely not have them at their desk because it is taking away from their learning. But that's my opinion. What do you think?
I couldn't agree with you more. You remember when we had the bars and the flip phones, and then we went to the BlackBerry, aka the
Mm-hmm.
Crackberry,
The
right?
first smartphone. Yeah.
That's right. And so and so when now that we have this full screen and a miniature computer that's in our pocket and right there and social media and all these other influences, no, that has no place in the classroom. A parent does not need to communicate with their child in the classroom, just like no one needs to communicate with the parent while they're at work. There's an emergency, you call this number and things will be handled, right? And
Yeah.
so, under no condition should any phone be out. And if we have to lock them away or have some sort of measure that imposes a very strict penalty for having a phone, that's what's got to happen. And by the way, what exactly are you doing on the phone? Who are you talking to? What is your
Mhm.
priorities? And where are you on social media? Why are you on social media? With all due respect, social media is a tool for adults. It was designed, right? Facebook, for example, right? Who was that designed for? College kids.
Yep.
right? They're of age, and the brilliantly learned how to move forward and mass produce or mass market the platform, and now everyone uses it. And we have many other spinoffs. And now all of our lives are just spent on Facebook, which, yes, are designed to draw you in, to get you onto the platform, keep you on the platform.
Mhm.
And that is not for our kids. So when you talk about, oh, the kids are suffering from depression, when you have a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old committing suicide, what more needs to be discussed,
Yeah.
right? So parents have got to take these out of the hands of their kids. I highly that have a flip phone or something, and let them go back to interacting with each other, because no one knows how to communicate anymore, right?
Yes.
And so what does that workforce look like when we have children? This is all they know. Okay, so we have to fix a few things. We have to put some of those straws back into kerplunk and keep the marbles from of our society from falling down.
Absolutely. What's interesting is, social media is free, right? It's free. Well, if it's free, guess what? You're the product. And kids these days, they don't actually have any money. They don't earn anything. However, they have their parents' spending power. And so social media is largely a tool for marketing and advertising. And that's, I think, the big reason why the social media firms do not want the kids to not be a part of social media, because they have their parents' purse. They have the power of the purse. They are Congress to their parents.
There is what, 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
Social media companies have plenty of money to generate. They have plenty of money right now. And we just need to curtail that. And that starts with no phones in the classroom. Your focus is right here. And we need to go back to the basics and learn how to do properly, how to do math and science and reading and analysis and interact, have discussions. That's another thing, right? Because we're taking out the interaction, we're taking out discussions. So skip forward later in life, and you've got a one-minded individual that cannot see the field, that does not know how to communicate their position or analyze if their position is even valid. And so they're just rah, 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 rah about some particular subject that is absolutely asinine and off somewhere in left field. And so again, it starts at home
It does.
and it starts in the school and the education system, and we need to put those cell phones away.
What can we do to get parents more involved? Because it seems like the parents these days, a lot of parents, not all of them, they just kind of like let the government raise their kids in the school system, and they're not doing their part. And I don't know if it's because they're single parent homes, they're working, maybe they don't get to see their kids as much. I'm sure there's a lot of factors, but what can we do to try to get parents to be more involved and have accountability for their children?
It is first starting with messaging, because you're right. Parents are having to work harder, work longer, work more jobs in order to keep up and make ends meet. But we can't lose sight of a goal. Okay, it doesn't matter how old you are. Until you're dead, you have the opportunity to raise your station in life, to climb that ladder of success, and to achieve the American dream. And people need to remember that, right? And so, and you got to instill that in your kids as well. But how do you do that? You do that by interacting. You do that by taking onus, by taking responsibility, because you are the one that is responsible for your child and for raising your child, not the government, not the government whatsoever. Now, in our Constitution here in Texas, it was laid out in the beginning that the legislative branch would set aside money for education. And so that's how we have education. But you know that truancy is no longer even enforced?
Mm, I did not.
That's correct. So truancy is not enforced, behavior is not enforced, none of these things. And talking with teachers all around the county and all around the state of Texas, there is one thing that I've socialized numerous times and has received fantastic feedback. And that is we have got to put that responsibility back on the parents. If your kid is going to act a fool in school, we are going to inform you, and you need to get your household in order, your child in order. And if you don't, then there will be a citation. You've got to go to court. You have to pay a fine. We're going to hit you where it hurts, because there will be order and discipline in our classroom. And that is going to pay dividends, because later on in life, we have a much better chance of having order and discipline instead of crime on our streets.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts at home and it starts young. And it's sad when you see these kids, they are left to their own devices. They're largely unsupervised. They're being raised by their iPads and YouTube and TikTok. And that's where they learn the majority of their skills, so to speak, if you can call them that. Um, One thing you mentioned earlier, the workforce thing. I went to Arby's when I was driving from Alabama to Texas. I love to drive. It gives me a lot of time to think. And I stopped at Arby's and the lady just like didn't greet me. I walked up to the counter. There's no line. I just walked up and she looked at me and I looked at her and I kind of like waited to see if she was going to say anything and she didn't. She just looked at me and blinked. And I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And she still just like blinked at me and I'm like, I don't know if I should place an order. Like I felt so uncomfortable and I wanted to leave, but I'm just trying to hurry up and get some food and get back on the road. So I ended up ordering, but it was like these people have no idea how to interact with the public. Like, is there no training going on at Arby's? Like, this is how you talk to a customer. Like, and it's not just Arby's. No, I'm not trying to pick on them because I've had it
Yeah.
happen other places. But what in the world is going on where they can't even greet you and say hello? How are you? Can I take your order? What would you like today?
Well, I hope that, did you say that was in Texas?
No, no, I think that was
Okay,
in.
that's good enough for me. Yeah, we don't do that. We don't
I
do
think that
that in
was in
Texas.
Mississippi.
No, it can be anywhere. It can be anywhere. But that goes back to the roles, and roles, by the way, roles have been not just blurred, they've been lost. The identity of America has been lost. And that is one of the things that I am fighting, because that identity that America has lost, we cannot let that come further into our state. It is already seeping into our borders. And with that identity of who you are you a boy? Are you a girl? What is the expected behavior? Um, it's also, the Texas way and how we were brought up back in the day. And this goes for all of us. It was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, hold the door open, so
Mm,
on and so forth. We have got to bring that back, and it's manners and expectations. Again, I like the Japanese model, right? Where they give respect to each other and have manners, and especially in those until they become an adult and are allowed to make their own mistakes. We're there to make sure that they are acting as Texans, that they are acting as a young person is supposed to be. And we're both from the South, right? I mean, the South is known for our manners. So
yep.
this is absolutely embarrassing. Where have we gone, and where are we going? And you can see the results when we look at things like the tragic incident in Uvalde, Texas, where a kid is disillusioned with their identity and sex, and they walk in and kill a bunch of kids. We're seeing this more and more and more,
Mm,
and the solving this is getting back to the basics, getting back to those fundamentals: parenting, education, expectation, and having pride on how you present yourself, having pride on how you speak or how you act, how you behave at work, the service that you provide to others. I hope to bring that back to Texas, to revive that, and therefore shape and grow the next generation far better than what we are seeing and what this state and this nation has produced over the last few decades.
I would love to see it, Ben. And then maybe I would love to see you, go further in your career. Maybe you can become a senator and represent the state in Congress, or I'm sorry, in the Senate. And then maybe, who knows, get involved at the national level too, because we need more people with that mindset. Because I'm training to get my coaching certificate, and looking at John Maxwell, he talks about everything is a failure of leadership. And I can't help but think that that's exactly what's going on with society here. We don't have clear leadership, and the leadership we do have is weak. And it starts at home with your parents. Your parents are your leaders in the household. Well, a lot of times we have kids running the show. I see it with my friends, and their kids are the ones that make the decisions and decide what we're doing. And the parents might try to say, no, we're doing this. And then they push back, and the kid ends up winning. So who's in charge here? Do you really want your child making all these decisions? Like, be an adult, take responsibility for your family. You are the leader, be one.
There is a problem. I mentioned roles earlier, roles in life, what your role is at your station, at your stage, at your level, at your age in life. There is a role. And life is a stage. Find your role and play it. So, well, as you grow in age, and as you grow in education and experience, that role often gets larger and is higher in the food chain, higher on the ladder of success. But those roles, we have forgotten those roles. We've forgotten how to even identify with the most simple things. And so reestablishing our roles in society is critical, because we have become such a me kind of society. It's all about me. It's all about individuality. It's all about, let me express myself however I feel like doing, and nobody can tell me what to do at any other time, because I'm the one in control and I'm the boss here. No, no, absolutely not. And especially when you're under the age of 18, your role, your job is to learn, is to watch, learn, listen, and grow. And that we have to bring that back. And we have to also bring back a spirit of unity, that it's not all about you. We're in this together. We're all in this ship. And we all have to pick up an oar, and we've got to start rowing that boat, and we got to have it go in the right direction, because if we don't, then we're going to crash. We're going to go into the wrong waters, into stormy places. And so each of us have a job and a role, and it starts with the fundamentals, and laying aside our individuality. There's going to be plenty of time for that. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a scripture in the Bible that says that. It's funny, the Bible is like a blueprint, but we don't read that anymore. So, but it's a blueprint for life. Whether you're religious or not, pick it up and read a couple things, and you'll see that there is that blueprint, that structure laid out for us of the fundamentals of life. And by the way, that's what our laws are written. That's what they're based on. So many things in our lives are based off of these basic fundamentals of religion and philosophy that have been crafted over hundreds and hundreds of years. And getting back to that is critical to the success of our nation.
I fully agree. And I'm not a religious person, but I have taken a lot of really good lessons from the Bible. And if you just follow the 10 commandments, like, you'll be pretty successful in life if you just follow
Yes.
that. Whether you believe into buy into the religious aspect or not, you don't have to take the value from it. And I can't help but feel like I was having a conversation with a friend the other day. It seems like the United States has leaned in to every single one of the seven deadly sins.
Oh,
Like, we're
yes.
just leaning into greed, narcissism. We're very prideful, vain, gluttonous, whether it be, gluttony is not just about food. We're very self-indulgent in every way. And I don't necessarily think that you need religion in order to get things back on track, but I think it does help. If you have some kind of foundation that you can go back to, maybe that's what we need. We need more religion, but I don't know, because I'm not religious, so I don't know how you could really try to convince people. But we need some kind of foundation we can lean on.
What religion provides is the moral compass and the dignity of one's character. Government is there for the efficiency. Government is there to provide the space, but there has to be those two pillars in life that are standing strong and providing that guidance for us. And those pillars must be rooted in a firm foundation of a constitutional republic that lays a foundation. You know, in our liberal society, they keep on eroding the foundation of the nation. They keep on taking away the pillars and the structure that keeps our house standing. And I get it, you know, nobody's running around well, you know, not a lot of people. We don't do horse and buggies and bonnets and whatever anymore. Okay, we've advanced. There's a lot of you know, we're in modern times, right? And adjusting to those modern times. I think that's another thing too, by the way, because since World War II until now, technology and modernization has just gone up so fast, so high, and we haven't quite adjusted in time with it and have lost the foundation that we're on. And so one of the things that's critical in my campaign is restoring the foundation to the state of Texas, because this state is the foundation of the nation. And we must stand. If we do not stand, if our pillars and our foundations fall and are eroded, America will fall. And so it is imperative that we get this straight and that we repair the foundation of our society. And in that, whether you're religious or not, you have to have that religion or that belief in a higher power that gives you the dignity and the expectations and the moral compass, what your behavior is supposed to be like, so that the government can operate with efficiency and provide the space that's necessary for you to achieve the American dream. This is critical to the success of the state of Texas and to the success of our nation.
You made a very good point. I do feel in my heart that if Texas can't make a change, then this nation is screwed. And
That
with
is
that
correct.
said, I did want to ask a little bit more about the border crisis. You know, it's national news, it's international news, and there has been a huge fight between the United States government and the Texas government to try to do the right thing, which is secure the border. Um, Obviously, you're for securing the border, but what is actually being done? What can be done at this point? Because I know that the Supreme Court recently ruled that, and I read it, it made sense based on how the law is written, that Texas cannot supersede federal law. So what does that mean? Do we just have to open the border and let everybody in? That's not sustainable. That's insane.
Well, the federal law is there, but we have a president that is not enforcing the federal law, that is not ensuring that his cabinet is enforcing the federal law. Constitution of the United States and of Texas says to repel. It doesn't say watch them come over. It doesn't say catch and release. It doesn't say ship to Martha's Vineyard. It says repel. So I'm unclear on why we are not repelling. Nonetheless, the federal government is allowing, in fact, the Biden administration is encouraging illegals to come into this country. And this is unacceptable because it's not just our southern neighbors. You know, in Texas, we've always had a bit of an ecosystem, if you will. It doesn't make things right, but you know, there's illegals and you probably know them and grew up with them, or who knows, whatever, right? Again, I do not support that and it's not right. However, what we have today, that's out of control. And it's not just our southern neighbors. We're talking people, you know, from Africa, from terrorist countries, from
From China.
Chinese.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And they are just coming in and infiltrating our country. So this is a security issue. This is a narcotics issue. This is a trafficking issue. This is a homeless issue. I mean, there are so many problems, and the federal government is not doing anything about it. So our governor, Greg Abbott, decided that we're going to clamp down and we're going to start building our own wall. We are going to put up barriers and concertina wire, and we are going to stop those people from coming over. And we got a tremendous amount of pushback from the federal government. So we took it one step further. And last year he signed into law the ability for peace officers, law enforcement in the state of Texas to arrest anyone that comes into our state across the border illegally. And there has been, once again, pushback from the federal government. It's gone back and forth in the Supreme Court. One second we're good, the next second we're not. And it'll all get straightened out. But what Governor Abbott has decided to do is to invoke the invasion clause. Because when you have thousands and thousands of people in the month of December, this past December, there was 302,000 people that crossed our border. I don't know if you're familiar with the Alamo Dome or if you've ever been to the Super Bowl or something, but that's at least 4 stadiums. It's larger than most major cities, 1.2 million in the year of 2023, not including gotaways, which is the size of Philadelphia and I think Chicago, something like that combined. Okay, that is a tremendous amount of people that are putting a tremendous amount of strain on our resources, our law enforcement, our hospitals, our infrastructure. And then there's all the kids. What do you do with all the kids? Our kids are getting pushed to the side because now we're going to take in all the illegals. No, right? And so what we are doing here in the state of Texas, and we'll continue to fight the federal government, is to ensure that we are securing our border. And if you come over our border, we will arrest you. And there's an escalation. If you do it again, the penalties are higher. You do it again, penalty. Yeah, at some point, you're just going to be marked. I mean, do you want to enter into the United States of America and your first act is breaking the law? So we have got to put a stop to this, and that is what the state of Texas has decided to do, is take a stand. And I feel confident that it will hold in the Supreme Court. With God's grace, we will have a Republican, Donald Trump, back in the White House, and he'll get this sorted in a jiffy.
I can only hope something happens, because at this point it seems like the United States is pitting itself against Texas, and we are fueling up for some kind of showdown if we can't get on the same page. Because I understand that we have the federal government there for a reason, but when you're going against the needs of the citizens of your country, then what is your purpose anymore?
One of the things that is unique about Texas that no one else in this nation is, we're a republic. We were the Republic of Texas. We had embassies around the world. And we agreed to join the United States in 1845. And there was a deal in there. And, to put it in layman's terms, if the United States is going the wrong direction or not taking care of Texas, then we have the option to separate. So one of the things that's happened in Texas is there's a growing movement of the Texas nationalist movement, is what it's called, that are looking for Texit, just like Brexit, when Britain left the European Union, to execute our right as the Republic of Texas and to disembark or secede from the Union. I hope that does not happen. I hope that we don't face another time like Abraham Lincoln. But the federal government needs to understand that there are expectations and requirements, and they need to do their job. And if you're not going to do it, guess what? Texas is going to step up. We're going to do it ourselves. And there's going to be a lot of people that says, okay, wait a minute. We don't need you. We're the 7th largest economy in the world. Peace out. So,
yeah.
And, if you look at the United States from a business perspective, as bringing in $2.4+ trillion a year to the American economy, you really want to lose that from your portfolio? All right, let's get our heads screwed on straight. Let's take care of our border and stop interfering with state matters.
I love it. I hope it doesn't come to that, but if so, I can tell you, you've got my support, and I'm sure Alabama would be right behind you, because you know, there's this sentiment across the United States, especially in southern states, or at least in what I would say red states. So really appreciate you laying all of that out for us, Ben. Very glad to have you on the show, and good luck with your campaign. Is there anything else you want to leave with listeners before we end the call?
Yes, ma'am. Send Mostyn to Austin. That's what we need to do. Send Ben Mostyn to Austin. Go to mostynfortexas.com. That's Mostyn, mostynfortexas.com. If you can't remember the spelling, most objective solution to your needs, Mostyn. So go to my website, check it out, and please go to my Facebook or one of my social media profiles and follow me. Share me with all your friends. Let them know, and let everyone that you know, let them be informed that there is a fighter that we need to send Ben Mostyn to Austin to fight for us, to fight for the fundamentals and the principles of Texas, of conservatism, and send a problem solver to office and stop sending politicians. So go out there and follow me on social media and share me with all of your friends. Help me get that message out to the voters and to the rest of the nation that finally there's someone fighting. Finally, there's someone on their side.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Ben. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.